So fast it's March, and now we're starting to see the February vehicle sales results around the world. So now let's look at Canada. So the Canada press release, as usual, has been released on the first of the month, and it gets a little bit hard for the US numbers to be seen. But let's look at Canada first. So what they say here is they record the electrified vehicle sales at 32.2% of overall sales. So that seems to be one of the highest they've ever done. Lexus sets February sales record, meaning they've never sold as much vehicles in February other than this month in 2023. And also, made in Canada vehicles lead the charge. Okay, so let's look at the details for Canada. So Toyota Canada Incorporated sold 12,033 vehicles in February 2023, up 4.4% from February 2022. And when you look at the division of that, Toyota division sold 9,983 units, and that is actually down 2% from last year. So what does that mean? That means Lexus has sold more cars. So Lexus division had February sales of 2,050 units, and that is up 52.4% comparing to February 2022. And I think this makes sense because it was actually quite bad in the first few months of 2022 for Lexus in Canada. So now we look at the electrified vehicles. They're saying that 36.2% of the sales in February were electrified vehicles, which means it's the hybrids, the plug-in hybrids, and all that. And both Toyota and Lexus has saw a record electrified vehicle uptake for the month of February. The Toyota division is 34.9%. So 34.9%. 9,983 units times 34.9, which gives you 3,484 Corolla hybrids, Highlanders, Tundras, and RAV4s. So about one third of the sales are electrified hybrids and uh, probably the BEV as well. Whereas Lexus is actually 42.6%. So 2,050 units at 42.6% gives you about 874 vehicles roughly. So that's actually quite a good amount. And it does say that it's with the NX hybrid and NX plug-in hybrid and the RX hybrid all reaching February sales records. Unfortunately, really can't see because they don't provide the breakdown. Then they say made in Canada. So vehicles assembled in Canada led the charge in February for both for Toyota and Lexus brands. Sales of the best-selling passenger vehicle in 2022, the RAV4, rose 64%, and record sales for February for the RAV4 hybrid as well. And the NX RX sales reached record February sales as well, included records of their respective hybrid versions. So that's actually good. If you look at it, um, the hybrids are actually selling well, meaning batteries shouldn't be a problem at this time. Chips aren't a problem at this time. And it seems here that Lexus in Canada is actually doing quite well. So I quickly jump over to my spreadsheet for Lexus Canada. Um, Again, the information in Canada is actually quite hard to get. Just looking at the breakdown of the models, I only have until mid June of last year. I'm not able to find that information anywhere else. But let me zoom in and I'm going to scroll down to the total sales. So you can see here, um, last month, January, since 2018, it's actually been the best year for Lexus Canada. And then looking at February now, 2,050 units is also another best year since 2018. And when you look at here, next month, March, is going to be a little bit harder. Looking at it, it has to break 2,500 units in order to do another breaking month. So we'll have to see in March if these numbers are going to be higher And I'm hoping that it will be higher because anybody in Canada will be actually getting their NX that they've been waiting for. And I know a lot of you are getting a little bit frustrated because of the long waits. So hopefully this will actually get better as we see it. And if you see here, last year the highest was 2,540 units. And hopefully this year that will actually change because in Canada market, you can see, I think the highest I see here since the past few years is 2,941 units, which is in 2021. So hopefully we will break that record in 2023. Let's move on to the United States. So it looks like Toyota has not officially launched any sales numbers on their press release site. So I'll have to go to other sources to pull that information and hopefully be able to provide more information. So let's move on to my spreadsheet. So here we have it, the sales for United States in the Lexus lineup. So again, similar to January, I actually was able to get all the models except the UX. So what I did was I took the total number and then I deducted all the sales number and put them all into the UX. It could mean that they have sold one or two vehicles that are not part of the current models, and that number will be have there is some discrepancy. But I think that that would give you enough information just to look at the sales per model. So let's start with the UX. So the UX is 1,074 units. And if you look at from the February, it's not the best month, but much better than last year's because of you can see the UX has been dropping significantly and then has started to recover a little bit. Now we move to the NX. So NX is actually not too bad because when you look at it, last year 3,000 and then 2,800 units, and February now is 4,662 units. And if we go up, it's actually the best month in since 2019. We'll look at from the NX model since they've actually launched the NX model. Let's see if 4,662 will actually be the record month for February. Because if you look at January, 5,093 was the record month for January. So let's move on to the RX. So the RX has been always been Lexus's best-selling vehicle, and the last 2 months of 2022 was very bad for them. And it actually made it so that they can go over 100,000 units. But now with this trend we're seeing, so January, they met the 2022 numbers very close, and it's been quite high compared to the previous years. And you keep in mind, this is actually a brand new model year, and which means this car actually uses more chips. It actually needs more supplies for the bigger screens and all the other stuff. So looking at 8,646 is actually not too bad. If you look at 2019, 2020, 2021, it actually has beaten all those years. And it didn't beat last year of the 9,047, but it's actually quite close. So they're on the trend of keeping with the new model year. I think the sales are still quite good. Now we move on to the GX. The GX is 1803. And if you look at that, it's just an average number. The past 2 years has actually been much better. And you have to keep in mind that this is an older model which needs probably some refresh of the tech, but it could mean that they don't need as many chips to actually build this GX. So the demand and also the supply could actually be, I would say, available. But if you look at it from last year, it's a drop for the GX. Then looking at the LX, LX has actually been refreshed and the sales numbers just hasn't been meeting the prior years. But this month, the February month of 444 units has actually broken the record for February for what we have since 2019. So which is actually not too bad. January was quite disappointing with 156, but February it has regained some ground. Let's move on to the IS. Let's move over here a little bit. Okay, the IS. s- 1668. Not too bad. Uh, it's not as high as the 1905 in 2021, but looking at the previous other years, it's actually got quite good numbers for the month of February. One thing to keep in mind as well is February is a short month, so if your numbers are actually higher than previous months, is actually it means that it actually has done quite well. Because if you look at January 1661 and February 1668, it means that they've actually done better in February than January. Now moving on to the ES. ES has actually been the lowest, I would say, in the last 5 years. Probably waiting for some refreshing to be done, but I would say it's been quite stable as a model. Not the best selling model, but it's probably the best selling sedan because there's not many sedans out there left. Now looking at the LS 166, still not that good. It seems to be continuously trending downwards. Um, don't know why. But again, this is a low volume flagship model, so they don't expect selling a lot in a year. LC, again, this one is the only one model that has been impacted in the March production lines. And it makes sense if you look at the numbers, right? 152 sold in February, and 114 in January. They're not expecting to sell a lot. So impacting one day should not impact the LC that much. And the RC, I think it's time for a refresh here, right? They never really sold into high volumes as well. And you can see that the RC is actually selling less than the LC and the LS. So is that model going to be trimmed soon? I don't know. It probably will when you start looking at this because is it really worth keeping a model? Um, But if they refresh it with an electrified version of it, maybe that will boost it back up. So going back here, looking at the total sales for February of 2023, it was 21,455. And when you look at that, surprising, eh? It actually is the highest selling month of February in the past 5 years. So meaning Lexus has actually been able to sell more. And we all know that the wait list is still there, especially for the hybrids. The 350 seems to be availability seems to be much better, but the hybrids and the plug-in hybrids still seems to be in limited quantity. But it's good to see that it does look like the light is at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully there are no more hiccups on any chips or supplies. And as they continue to chug out these vehicles, you guys are getting the vehicles as soon as you can. So scrolling down, let's look at it. So, since the NX model has been released, it does look like February is the best month of the NX. The 2023 model seems to be selling more in every single year. So, looking at it, right? If we look at the first model year, I consider the 2015 as the first model year because they started late November. And if you look at after the first year, the second year, the numbers are actually typically higher than the previous years. And you can see it has gone up, up, up every month. And then when you look at it actually has gone down because of the pandemic. And then now, hopefully, this year, January was the record month. February is also the record month. So now, is it going to be easy for them to be able to beat the number for March? March is 6,466 units in 2021. This one's going to be tough to break the record, but let's see. Hopefully, they're able to beat the record, which means cars are coming and your waits are going to be shorter because they have been able to chug out more. They've been able to do 6,080 in December, but we haven't really seen more than 6,466. So we'll see in late March, early April to see if we're able to see what the sales numbers are for the NX in March. So there we have it. the sales for the United States in February, and the numbers look quite promising. Although the parent company Toyota numbers are down, Lexus seems to be able to maintain it now. And we will see, hopefully, this continues and we will see another breaking year, hopefully over 300,000 units in 2023. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please comment, like, and share this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel and press that alert button to get notified when new videos are posted. If you'd like to support the channel, you can definitely provide a super thanks. I'll see you guys again next time in the next video.